I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Business Renovator. I'm your host, Coach Phil. From the ground up to over $100 million. You hear that? From the ground up to over $100 million. I'm going to talk to our guest. He's going to explain to us what that really means and what, in 30 minutes, what you can do to help yourself elevate, escalate, and get to where you want to get to. But before we do that, thanks for being here. If you're live and in person, thank you. If you're not and you're catching this on a replay, remember #replay. Share this out with your peeps, your community. We welcome that. You just never know what message that you're going to be sharing with somebody that could be a game changer for them. And if you've got some feedback for us, certainly we want to hear that as well, because if you get feedback, then you can improve upon it. Many of the things that we've added to the show have come from the feedback from people just like you. I need to find a button to push this. This is my shameless plug for what I do, and actually my esteemed guest does. So hang in there and watch this short little ditty of what we do. No credit cards are required, by the way. If you would like to check in and see what your business growth score is, just go to my website, coachphil.ca. In the top right-hand corner is a little button. Push on the button and complete the assessment. You'll get a copy of it, and it'll help you validate you're on the right course, or maybe there's an area room for improvement, and it'll point that out, and you could go do it on your own. Or if you wanted to do a bit of a deeper dive into what it's all about, 30-minute complimentary coaching session. Again, no credit card required. I'm happy to do that. Also, I'm pretty sure my guest would do the same thing. So if one of us resonates with you more than the other, by all means, reach out to that person. I will pass on his information and how you can get hold of him later in the show. And if neither one of us resonates with you, that's okay. We're part of a global network with a diverse background and experiences. So there could be somebody on our team that could help you out if that is relevant for you. If it's not, enjoy the show. Let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about my guest. He's an awesome dude. Got to hang out with him this year in Cincinnati and talked a little bit about business and talked a lot about it, having fun. And we had giggles and laughs with a whole bunch of the other network of coaches we have on our team. So Charlie Janes helps business owners visualize and achieve better outcomes. He believes that successful leaders deserve a trusted advisor who can help them find their best path forward. Kind of like, it sounds like me, but it's his words. We have a similar thread of why we do what we do. His clients want accelerated profit growth, stronger teams and systems to scale and optimize business valuation and transferability. They want to build a legacy business that will thrive without them. His clients find purpose and achieve a work-life balance to enjoy life while reaching their fullest potential in less time, less stress. In 2022, his clients averaged profit growth in the range of 75%. Charlie provides his clients a unique perspective based on his experience building high-growth organizations, his FocalPoint Institute and Value Builder certifications, and his current ownership of Right at Home West Palm Beach adult care business that has scaled from 1 to 130 plus employees in 2 years. Woohoo! It's like success on steroids. And over a 30-year career in the Silicon Valley, he's helped grow several organizations from the ground up to over 100 million. Was in the title. Did you catch that? He participated in exits to tech titans like IBM, Oracle, Workday, and PTC. He helped other startups achieve funding from leading VCs who lend money and PE firms. He has helped individuals achieve career success, emerge as leaders in some of the world's most influential high-tech and Fortune 500 companies. And he's here. So let's bring Charlie up right now. Hey, welcome, Charlie. Thanks for fitting us into your crazy busy schedule.
Phil, I appreciate being here, and that was a great introduction. It's almost like I wrote it myself.
Well, you did contribute. I added it. One of my favorite things to do is improv, so I improv it. I didn't make anything up, though. It's all factual.
Well, very good.
That's an interesting picture behind you. It looks like a dog in a puddle or in a pool and having a good time looking up. Is there anything more meaningful than what I just made up about that?
If this house burned down, it's the one thing I'd take with me. My daughter's a very talented artist. Matter of fact, she works for an ad agency designing whiskey labels of all things. Oh, wow. But that was the dog that she grew up with, Katie, who won an award as the world's worst dog. That is her and her best moment. But yeah, my daughter Madison drew that one, as well as two others of my two Chihuahua Terriers.
Wow, that's amazing. What a story. Two awesome stories. One about the dog, who also was an award winner in its own right, and your daughter. That's just, well, great testimony. I can see why if the house burnt down, that would come out. Yeah. I don't care about the rest of the stuff. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm mesmerized by it. I'm sorry. I'm going to be just staring at that for the rest of the show.
I do it actually distract people from my nose.
From your nose? That's funny. That is a beautiful picture.
Thanks.
That is amazing. And one of the things you picked up on when we had the green room conversation was, and another guy with lots of books. As I mentioned to you, I'm not in my home office right now. One of the things I really enjoy about the business I'm in and you're in is we can design it any way we want. So one of the things I am doing is hanging out with a client, friend, and business associate in his home in another part of Canada. And this is his office backdrop. And it's not faux. I'm going to prove it to you. My video guy, coach, we're getting off camera, but just to let you know, it's not a faux one. Watch this. See, these books really do come off the shelf. There you go. So we're live. It's not Memorex. Well, at least at the moment we are. It will be Memorex later. I wonder if anybody knows what I'm talking about when I say Memorex. So if you were to tell us a win that you had or something you're stoked about over the last few days or weeks that is relevant to our topic, what would that be?
Phil, one of the things that I enjoy doing more and more is working with business owners that start using the word legacy. In the early days of coaching, I worked with a lot of early stage clients who are working on skill sets like time management things. But when you start working with a business owner or a family office that use the word legacy, we're talking about building a business that will live on beyond the length of the business. And like we talk about at FocalPoint, these are business owners that want to create a ripple in their pond. So it's not only the success of the business for their wealth creation, but it's creating an entity that will likely live on after they're gone. So one of my favorite wins is here in South Florida. As a member of the Exit Planning Institute, I've developed a pretty good team of professional advisors. And recently we've been able to work with business owners to not only build plans to scale the business value and the profitability of a business, but to extract that wealth systematically in ways that minimize taxes and that live on for multi-generation wealth creation. Now, those are a lot of words, but the win is having developed the team of people to work with that, handle that whole life cycle with clients. And I think that's really fun.
Yeah. I'm coming back. I'm still here. I'm in the background listening.
Thank goodness. The good looks in the picture got cut in half when you went out.
And
Thank you for the comment about the dog.
And I'm going to bring on a couple of other comments from Alan. I met him through the pandemic. We were Megamind mastermind individuals, and look what else he said. Alan is actually an author of at least one book. I have a copy of it. It's his forte is being safe in the world. He's all about safety and survival, and even under the worst circumstances, surviving gunfire, those kind of things, and how to be safe. So he actually has a live podcast that he does as well.
I have a range of books here, but one of my favorites is Sapiens, The History of Mankind, came out about 5 years ago. And there's so much knowledge about how we're wired as human beings that, Phil, it plays back into what you and I do as coaches, of leveraging people's wiring to come up with the best outcomes. But highly recommend Sapiens. That's the current the book.
Sapiens. It's a recommendation, guys and gals. Check it out.
Once again, no credit card required.
That's right.
Well, except to buy the book.
Yeah, but not to us.
That's right.
It's a gift of wisdom and knowledge that you're imparting upon our audience today, or if they're watching the replay. How did you get into the area of business you're in? Not the business coaching, but pre-business coaching.
I didn't honestly put a lot of thought into it. I grew up in a house where I had to go make a living right out of college. So I started my career as a buyer of automotive braking parts for Bendix Brakes, the company that used to make all the braking systems for all Fords and Chryslers. And, it was fun, but I needed more. So I went to grad school, got a master's degree. And while I was working out at University of Colorado, I started doing marketing and business analysis for a tech company, and I fell in love. So I went into sales for that company after graduation, and that rolled into a 30-year career of growing all different types of business to business and business to consumer tech companies.
Cool. We have something else in common. Not that I did what you did in the tech world, but I worked for a couple of tech companies. 3 of them, actually. One was a smaller one. Their claim to fame was that they were the first mini computer company that provided a CRT. Well, that's a monitor, right? The rest of it prior to that were teletypes. So you typed on and then you received on and it was all typed, printed, right? So they got rid of that and added the monitor, big, heavy glass. What was it? What's the name of the tube? The CRT tube. Anyway, that's what they were. So my job was to go and sell the hardware, introduce the hardware, and we partnered up with software programmers. And they wrote it in a language called BASIC. And that was my first onslaught of technology. It's fascinating.
We've seen, you and I both have seen an amazing evolution in our lifetime where computing was something that was only in the back office of a big corporation to put on people's desktops, to put on their phone. And now we're starting to experience wearables and computing keyboards are going away and everything's becoming voice activated. And that will have a huge impact on how businesses engage with their clients and people engage with each other.
Yeah. Well, speaking of how we've come from, I wish I had recorded some of the things that I took for granted at the time with the technology, like the fact that we used to have removable disk drives. We had a box that was plugged into the CPU, central processing unit. And now the CPU lives in this thing, and it does everything we're talking about. And it has a lot, I don't know how many more capacity that it has over this little thing. Removable disk drives with platters on them. And the number 6, I don't know if it's 600K on the platter, wasn't very much compared to what we have in our hand today. So yeah, you're right. And now what you're talking about, now we've got this thing, the hot topic this year is AI. And when I started with another tech company, they had an artificial intelligence machine, wasn't very smart though. It was in the early days, just back in the 90s, and they're just starting to go down that path. And here we are. You can do artificial intelligence on here, and it does so much more.
Yeah, well, yeah, the companies I work for in Silicon Valley, the last 15 years, they were artificial intelligence and large scale data analytics, everything about applying all of the data out there and putting it in formats that are accessible to all of us as human beings and as businesses. And we're still in our infancy, but it's amazing the things that can be done. My last project was working for a small company that did all the voice based bots to work for companies like Anheuser-Busch, where we accepted all the orders for beer in the country of South Africa.
Wow.
And all of that was a machine. People through their phones were talking to a machine, and the machine was processing the order, processing returns, and processing tickets to repair coolers without a human being involved.
That's scary and exciting at the same time.
Well, I should qualify. The humans were calling in from the stores, but the call center was 95% just all automated. Wasn't even that hard to train it, because the body of conversations is so finite that we were able to take all the recordings from previous years and train the system relatively simply.
Yeah. When I first got introduced to tech, I was wondering, what the heck have I done? Who am I to be in this crazy business? Anyway, I'm glad I stuck it out and got rid of that inner critic crazy dialogue that was trying to suppress my ability to grow into my potential.
Yeah.
You said something about what speaks to you a lot is the legacy. That's really what kind of was driving you a lot of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And what interests me about you talking about that is a lot of people get into business to get out of the working for the miserable boss they had and to get mad at Harry or Mary, and they've got some tools and a few people that they could rely on as being customers, and they go and service them. And all of a sudden, because they do good work, and they're starting to grow their business, and now they've morphed themselves into that Harry and Mary that they were pissed off at and left. Now they are them. And neither one of those entities think far enough. They're just doing that to get out, to live their dream, pay their bills, and have vacations and make investments and all that important stuff. But they forget about the one thing, that every business should be for sale. And there should be, I shouldn't shit on everybody, and I'm shitting a lot, so I apologize. What they forget about, though, is there's an opportunity in that asset that they're building that could benefit them in retirement, or could be a legacy piece. Goes to the family. Maybe the kids want it, maybe they don't. And if they don't, then what? You can still move to that end point. You want to put your more than 2 cents in around that?
Well, Phil, when I think of you in particular, you've built a magnificent practice in helping people with their mindset. So we should talk about mindset a little bit. But first, let's start with the numbers. According to the Rockefeller habits, only 3% of businesses ever grow beyond $1 million or 3 employees, which means that the business owner never can visualize themselves above the business. And, a business that sales or delivery depends on the owner isn't worth anything. So as a result, only 17% of businesses ever put up for sale sell. And of those businesses that sell, 75% of the time, the owner regrets having made the sale, and 95% of the time, they regret the price or the terms that they got on the exit. And really, that comes down to planning, and good planning comes down to having the right mindset to take the time to do it. How's that for 2 cents?
That's
worth
powerful.
Every penny of it.
Absolutely. That's like $5 worth.
Oh, I would think so, yeah.
Oh, at a minimum. Yeah, that's
we are taking payments for that.
Absolutely. People just, they don't think about what the future holds. They're thinking of the future immediately. You think of the 3 I's that Michael Gerber teaches us. They're stuck in the technician mindset and or the manager's mindset, and they forget about the vision part of it. Or if they do have a vision, they're not. And this is speaking generally, but your numbers were pretty significant. So if we look at the numbers that you just shared with us, there's a low percentage of the population that are entrepreneurs, business owners that are planning for a profitable, stressless exit or future, whatever that might be, because the exit may not be exiting. It could be like, oh, this thing is going so well, why don't we franchise it? And I can think of some people in my local marketplace that I didn't work with specifically, but they've taken, say, a cleaning business and had somebody inspire them, coach them, and support them, and they've turned it into a franchise and shared what they learned as an entrepreneur that works. So they're showing up and giving better value to more people by replicating themselves. And they're doing really well. So we can help others do something similar, right? You're doing that right now, aren't you?
Well, I think that is such a great example. You've made two important points. So first off, a lot of times when business owners hear the word exit, and especially if they're younger, their 30s, their 40s, they recoil. So let's not use the word exit for this interview. Let's just use the word transition. And transition options can be a third-party exit. They can be things like giving partial ownership to your management team that you hire. That's what we'll do with our home care business that we have here in Palm Beach. Is the business is being designed to be taken over with outside funding by our employees when we get rid of the business at some point. There's ESOP plans. And then there's also things that when you want to fuel the growth of your business and you need capital, you can bring in investors who at some point will potentially bring in new managers, or you can cultivate your children to take the business over. So I think I just ticked off 6 different options. So there's a lot of different options, and sometimes it's timing dependent. So the idea of transition planning is that you have a general idea of what your business is worth and what you want it to be worth. You have an idea about what you want your retirement and your life to be like. You particularly have an idea of what you want your work-life balance to be like now and 5 years or 10 years from now. And from that, you weave together the best plan to cultivate your team and your automation in your business so that the business is more transferable in any one of those areas.
Yeah, I like what you're talking about, transition versus just exit, because there's, like you're saying, there are other options, and exit is just one thing. Even the sound of the exit doesn't sound as good. Transition sounds so much better, right?
Sounds final.
Yeah, it does. Exit is over, which no, it's just could be a new future. So transition is a much better word.
And I'd mentioned the statistic that 75% of owners regret selling, and sometimes it really is because they don't know what their next act will be. It sounds like it'll be fun to go off and golf, but after a couple of weeks of golfing, they're bored. They don't have an office to go into. So many people who sell their business actually restart a new business, or sometimes they sell their business in a way where a company takes it over but asks them to continue to be involved. And a lot of times that acquirer doesn't really have the knack to make something of the business. So a lot of times business owners get the business back at a discount. There's a wide range of things that can happen if you have a good plan. And I'm going to say a plan is one thing to have a coach like you or I, but you also want to have your business in a legal structure, with employee contracts, and you want to have your business included in your estate plan, including what happens, if the children want to run the business, if they don't want to run the business, they might want to run the business, or a future generation wants to run the business. Having all of those things in a package that provides structure for decision making while you're running the business is super important.
Oh, you just brought up something that I not totally forgot about, because I popped in and visited with. They were a client of mine for a bunch of years, about 4.5 years. But before they became a client of mine, they were friends, and I'd done business there. I'm going to leave them nameless. They're in a particular manufacturing space, and they were doing some manufacturing stuff for me over the years, and my clients at the time. And one of the things that was interesting when I started talking to them, got into the FocalPoint world about 15 years ago, and about 15 years ago, I was having a coffee and talking about what I was doing before they did what they did. But it was two partners that had the business, and they didn't have a buy-sell agreement. They had nothing in place like that, not a thing. And then they got mad at each other, angry, and it was not a good place. So the one that I knew both of them, right? So I ended up being reached out to by the one of them, and I helped him through some things prior to engaging as a full-time coach, and helped them come up with putting some pieces in place. Not that I did it. Like, we need attorneys, lawyers, CPAs. Selling a business is not like, oh, get a realtor, stage it, put a sign in your front yard, and promote it. That's not what you want to do with a business. It could be suicidal, get the least amount of money, not the best amount of value, because it's, and then what's the impact it has on your team, your staff? They see a sign up, all of a sudden you're selling the business, what they start panicking.
Yeah.
It needs to be strategic, right? So, and going back to these guys, they put all that stuff into place again. I didn't do it. I coached them through it. I got to work with them for about just under 5 years on the sales, marketing, and systematizing the rest of the business. And they're still flourishing. They're just going crazy.
Well, I love the fact that you're bringing up the idea of a buy-sell agreement. Anytime that any of you out here have a partnership, you have to have a buy-sell agreement. And a coach like Phil or I can help you brainstorm what needs to be in there. And another great way to do it is to have a personal board of advisors. Phil's probably talked to you in the past about having mastermind groups. All the great business minds in the world, like Andrew Carnegie and Stephen Jobs and Edison, they all had masterminds. So you can think about what will be important, and your partner should do the same thing. And your lawyer can quickly craft a buy-sell agreement around those ideas. Typically, the legal fees of doing a buy-sell are trivial, especially if you've thought through a lot of the issues and you're not taking the lawyer's time to think through it.
Yeah, good advice. I don't know if you're having any fun today, but I'm having a blast. And my MO for the Business Renovator is to be about a 30-minute show. So, damn it, we're almost at the 30-minute mark, and I promised to do some things, and I want to do this, not have to do anything. I'm going to bring this up, my friend. But before I do that, I got to click on a few things and make sure let's put this on there so people got something to look at. Here it comes. Here it comes.
The tension's building.
I know, there it is. So there's your LinkedIn profile. What I'm going to do for the audience to make it easier for them to find you, if they so feel inclined to do that, is I'm going to put your URL up there, which is right here. That's much easier to read than this part up here where the cursor's going around. That's where you can follow, go check him out, learn a little bit more about him. What are people saying about him? What other information does he have there? We all know how LinkedIn. Oh, look, we're on the show here. When I roll up, there we are right there. There's some other interesting things on there as well. And as I promised, and I did a shameless plug for me and for Charlie, I'm going to go to that place too, because we could do this here. Let me go there. We changed there we go. Now you can read that. So you go to Charlie's website, and you could actually see it. Looks like this. But there's the URL at the bottom. And if you want to do a growth score, do you have that on your site? I forgot to check.
I have a business growth score, but what might be more interesting to your audience that are thinking about exiting sometime in the future is about halfway down through the website, and it's all over my LinkedIn page, is we offer business valuations. So you can spend 13 minutes filling out the questionnaire, and I'll give a guest of this show, and certainly Phil, I'd always invite you to join us in the conversation. They get a 2-for-1 deal. But we can take you through the structure of what your business is worth and what it would be worth if you made a couple structural changes. So that's probably a good thing for you to know about on the website. And
am I pointing at the right place here?
That's exactly the right thing, Phil.
Excellent. So you can just go to charliejames.focalpointcoaching.com, click on the link that's showing up here once you go to the site, because there is no link. There is no link here. On my live stream, that is, or the replay. As you can see, the link is here. It goes gray. right in there. So if you were to click on that, it will take you to the assessment. If I was going to ask you if there's something you would like to impart on our audience, let me clear off some of this stuff here. What might you share with them?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And the thing that flashed to the front of my mind is plan.
Plan.
Plan. It sounds hokey. Phil and I are both coaches and we help people plan for living. But I always consider you to make a plan for what success is 5 years out for business success, financial security, health, family, lifestyle, faith, those things. And really what you're looking for is some degree of balance. But oftentimes when clients come to me, they're just hell-bent on growing their business. The first thing that we do is we actually back them off on the hours work and we have them develop a hobby. Why? Because they come up with better ideas when they're not overworking themselves or not overworking their employees. So, a personal plan is super important. And in a similar vein, having a strategic plan for your business, having a clear picture of what you want your business to look like 5 years out. What are the revenues? What are the profits? What's your business value? On a personal level, how many hours a week do you want to be working? How many hours a week do you want to be up above the business, as Phil talked about, as the strategist rather than down in the business as the technician? Those are things that you should have in a plan. And by visualizing it, it's called the law of attraction. You become what you think about most of the time. So once you've written your plan, look at it every day. That's it, Phil. What do you think about that?
I think that's brilliant. And what I'm going to add on to it, because it's really not an add-on, it supplements what you're doing. A number of years ago, I was introduced to the idea of recreation, is to take time away from your business, your busy life, to recreate, to rejuvenate, to contemplate, to do something totally different than what your business is. And often, many of the challenges we are faced with will get answers in that space where it's quiet from where we are. So I've been following another well-known coach over the 40 some odd years. And I just saw a post of his that on Facebook in a group I hang out with him and his wife are taking 155 days off of work. And he's very, 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 very successful financially, health-wise, happy in all of the things you were talking about. So he's got a plan and what he's doing. And he plays to his strengths. What he does well, he does. And what he doesn't do well, his team do, because they do it so much better and they have more passion for it than he does. I want to just acknowledge this Facebook user. I don't know who you are, but we appreciate your conversation, your feedback about the great conversation and the nuggets. If you're still here and we're still on, if you wouldn't mind telling us who you are, what's one nugget that stuck out for you? That would be interesting for us to know if you're still here. If you're not, thank you for being here and listening and hanging out with us.
And while they're writing, I'm just going to say the recreate comment was really interesting, but you got to be careful about the kind of recreation. The wrong kind of recreation and you won't have any peace at all.
That's true. It's very, very true. I want to thank you for being a guest here. Nobody's chimed in here yet, so it looks like they may have had to run. So thank you for being here and sharing a bit of knowledge in and around from the ground up to $100 million. And then also, while you're on that path, to have a plan to transition, not exit. So those are awesome nuggets. So I thank you for being here. And I'm going to end the show and see you shortly.
Thanks, Phil. A pleasure.
So I don't know if you got something out of that, but I certainly did. I took a few notes as best I could. Transition planning. Don't be afraid. Tech is going to change. Embrace it. Be open to it. As you can see, we've evolved from phones on the wall with a cable to mainframe power processing in your hand. It's amazing. Plan. Do we say plan? That was the other nugget I wrote down again. Plan. And thinking and taking time away from what it is you do. As always, I like to remind people about something that was imparted or impacted me a bunch of years ago. Let me go get it so I can share it with you. And it's this: the U in there is larger, and it's not an O, it's a U on purpose, because the U represents you. You truly are wonderful and you're unique. So continue being your wonderful, unique self. And until next time, I'm Coach Phil. We'll see you on the next episode of the Business Renovator.
I get shit done, I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.